He thought I'd always be the quiet one, the girl who smiled even when my dreams were stolen. But the day he filled out her college form instead of mine, he signed his own goodbye letter. Some betrayals don't scream, they just walk away silently, and never look back. That's how it all began, not with a fight, not with a breakup, but with silence. A silence so heavy it could suffocate a heart. I used to think love meant trust, that when you handed someone your dreams, they'd hold them carefully. But I learned that sometimes, the people you love the most are the ones who tear those dreams apart, not out of hatred, but out of selfishness dressed as love. His name was Rayon. He had eyes that carried promises and a voice that could turn any fear into a laugh. We grew up in the same dusty town where the air smelled like hope mixed with regret. I loved him since we were 16, when he helped me fix my broken bicycle and told me, "We'll leave this place someday, together." I believed him like it was scripture. We had a plan. I'd apply for journalism, he'd apply for engineering. We'd get into the same university, share a tiny apartment, live on coffee and cheap noodles until success found us. Every night we'd sit under the same flickering streetlight near the bakery, writing down college essay drafts, helping each other find the right words. He'd always say, "You were born for this, Alina. You'll change the world with your stories." I never realized how easily words can become weapons once they lose their meaning. Then came Maya, his cousin. She was everything I wasn't. Loud, stunning, with a kind of confidence that demanded attention. She failed her exams twice, but her family had money, and her parents wanted her in college at any cost. Rayon's father was connected with someone in admissions, so naturally, they turned to him for help. I didn't mind at first. Family helps family, but I didn't know that in helping her, he'd destroy me. It happened quietly. One evening, Rayon texted me, "Send your documents, love. I'll fill out your application tonight. I've got it all handled." His tone was warm, familiar, like every other time he'd taken care of something for us. I smiled at my phone, grateful, proud even, that I had someone who cared enough to handle the small things. I sent everything, my ID, transcripts, my essay, the one I spent nights perfecting, writing about how stories change lives. The next few weeks passed in nervous anticipation. I checked the admissions portal every morning, every night, hoping for that small green tick of acceptance. My hands would tremble, my heart would race, and every time it wasn't there, I told myself it was okay. Maybe they were still processing. Maybe they'd email me later. Then one morning, I saw the announcement. The accepted student list was out. I scrolled fast, searching for my name, Alina, nothing. My chest went tight. Maybe I spelled it wrong. I checked again. Nothing. I refreshed, scrolled slower this time. And that's when I saw her name. Maya Khan. Accepted. Journalism program. Same course, same intake. I frowned, that couldn't be right. She didn't even apply for journalism. She had failed English twice. But then I saw it, the essay title. The voices that shaped me. My essay. I remember the way my breath hitched. My hands felt cold even though it was summer. I opened the PDF beside her name, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. Word by word, it was mine. My story, my sentences, my scars. The way I wrote about my mother's strength, my father's silence, the dusty roads that carried my childhood, every line. Except the name at the top wasn't mine anymore. I ran to Rayon's house, my heart in shreds. His mother opened the door and smiled. "He's upstairs with Maya." I didn't even respond. I climbed the stairs two at a time, and there he was, sitting next to her, laughing. My file was open on his laptop. When he looked up and saw me, the color drained from his face. "You filled her form." My voice cracked. "You used my essay." He froze. Maya's eyes flickered with guilt for a second, but she didn't speak. Rayon tried to stand, reaching out to me. "Alina, listen," she needed it. Her parents were desperate. "I thought you'd understand." "Understand," I repeated, my voice shaking. "You stole my dream, Rayon. You took everything I worked for and gave it away like it was a favor." My chest ached as the words spilled out. "You promised we'd leave together. Was that just another lie?" He sighed, rubbing his temples like I was the one being unreasonable. "It's just 1 year. You'll apply again next year. You're smart. You'll get in anywhere." Maya, she wouldn't. I had to help her. Family comes first. Something in me shattered. It wasn't just betrayal. it was the realization that I didn't matter as much as I thought I did. My dreams were negotiable, my future replaceable. I turned away before he could see the tears fall. He said my name, softly, but it didn't sound like love anymore. It sounded like pity. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the shadows of betrayal crawling across my mind. Every memory replayed like a cruel movie, his promises, his laugh, the nights we dreamed together. Now every moment felt poisoned. My mother came in once, sat beside me, brushed my hair back, and said, "Sometimes losing someone is how God teaches us what we deserve." I didn't understand it then, but her words stayed. Days blurred into each other. Rayon called. I didn't answer. He came by, stood outside my window, whispering apologies, saying he didn't mean to hurt me. I watched from behind the curtain but didn't move. I had nothing left to say. The flowers he left wilted on the porch. The letters he wrote went unopened. Then, one morning, I woke up with a strange calm. I looked at my reflection, eyes swollen, face pale, and whispered, "You're not staying here." For the first time in weeks, I felt something like purpose. I searched online for journalism scholarships abroad and found one. It was competitive, nearly impossible, but I didn't care. I wrote my essay again, not about dreams this time, but about betrayal, resilience, and starting over. Every line was carved out of the pain he gave me. I poured every tear, every broken piece, into that application. And I sent it, without telling anyone. Months later, when I received the acceptance letter, I didn't scream or cry. I just folded it neatly, placed it in my journal, and packed my suitcase. I walked around the small room that held all my memories, ran my fingers along the wall where we once drew plans for our future, and smiled bitterly. Then I left a note on my desk, short, simple, final. "You filled her form, Rayon. But you forgot, I can write my own destiny." As the bus pulled away from that small town, the road stretched like veins leading me away from everything I knew. I didn't look back until the last turn, and even then, I didn't feel regret. Just freedom. He thought my silence meant I was weak. But silence was the sound of me rebuilding myself, quietly, completely, and forever. He thought my silence was weakness. But sometimes, silence is the sound of a woman rebuilding her entire life. When I left that town, I carried nothing but a suitcase, a notebook, and a heart that didn't know how to trust anymore. The bus rattled along the highway, the night swallowing everything familiar. I watched the lights blur outside my window, and for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of staying the same. The city was louder than I imagined. It never slept, never paused. Everything moved fast, cars, people, dreams. And I had to catch up. My scholarship covered my tuition, but not the cost of living, so I worked nights at a cafe near the university, wiping tables, writing stories on napkins during breaks. My hands were always tired, my back ached, but my soul was healing. The journalism classes were tough. My classmates came from polished schools, their words smooth, their English perfect. I felt small at first, invisible, like the small-town girl who had sneaked into a world she didn't belong to. But every time I held a pen, I remembered why I was there. I wasn't there to compete. I was there to become. I started writing articles for the university newspaper, small stories at first, about student struggles, cafeteria food prices, unfair grading. Then one day, I wrote about a janitor who worked 3 jobs to put his daughter through college. That story went viral on campus. Professors stopped me in hallways. The editor-in-chief offered me a permanent column. It wasn't much, but for me, it was a beginning. There were nights I cried, missing my mother, missing the simplicity of home, even missing the version of myself who used to believe love was enough. But every tear became a sentence, every pain a story. My words were my therapy, my survival, my revenge, not on him, but on the person I used to be. Years passed. I graduated with honors, holding my degree in trembling hands, smiling through tears that carried every sleepless night, every scar, every betrayal I'd turned into strength. That day, as the crowd cheered and the camera flashes burned, I whispered under my breath, "You made it, Alina." Not because anyone handed it to me, but because I built it, piece by piece, from the ashes he left behind. After graduation, I joined a digital magazine as a junior writer. It was small, but passionate. My editor pushed me hard, rewrote my drafts, criticized my tone, but she saw something in me. Within a year, I was promoted. My pieces began getting attention. People started calling me the journalist who wrote with emotion, as if they could feel my heart bleeding through the words. Then, one ordinary Thursday afternoon, the past walked right back into my life. I was assigned to cover an education conference downtown. It was a typical event, college heads, NGOs, sponsors. I stood near the media desk, flipping through my notes, when a voice behind me said softly, "Alina." My body froze. I knew that voice even after all these years. I turned, slowly, and there he was. Rayon. He looked older, not in years, but in spirit. His once bright eyes were dulled with exhaustion, and there were lines around his mouth that hadn't been there before. He smiled faintly, hesitant. "It's really you," he said. I didn't answer immediately. The room seemed to fade, the noise dissolving into a dull hum. For a second, I saw us as we used to be, two kids sitting under a streetlight, dreaming of a future. But that dream was long gone, and so was the girl who believed in it. "You look different," he said finally. "I had to be," I replied. He swallowed, shifting his weight. "I heard about you. Your articles. You're doing amazing things, Alina. I'm proud of you." "Thank you," I said simply. I could feel the old ache stirring inside me, but I refused to let it take root. He hesitated before speaking again. "I came here to represent my company. We build student software now." He laughed lightly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Funny, right? I spend my days helping kids get into college." The irony wasn't lost on me. I gave him a small smile that didn't quite touch my heart. Life has a strange sense of humor. There was a long pause, then his voice softened. Maya dropped out. She never finished. Said journalism wasn't for her. She's married now. 2 kids. I looked at him and nodded slowly. I'm not surprised. It was never her story to live. He lowered his gaze, guilt flickering across his face. I think about it often. What I did to you. I was scared, Alina. My father was pressuring me, Maya's parents wouldn't stop calling, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought you'd forgive me. I did, I said quietly. His eyes shot up, confusion flashing. I forgave you a long time ago. Not because you deserved it, but because I needed to move on. He took a step closer, his voice trembling now. If I could go back. You can't, I interrupted gently. And neither can I. He looked at me like he wanted to say more, but no words came. The silence between us was no longer heavy. It was empty, the kind that comes when 2 people realize their story is truly over. I lost you, he said finally, his voice barely a whisper. I shook my head. No, Rayon, you didn't lose me. You let me go. For a moment, he looked like the boy I once loved, lost, remorseful, reaching for something he could never have again. But I didn't reach back. I had already given him enough of my life. I turned to leave, but before I did, I looked over my shoulder and said, you once told me I'd change the world with my stories. You were right, but you forgot. To change the world, I first had to change myself. As I walked away, I didn't look back. The conference noise swallowed the moment, and he disappeared into the crowd. That night, I sat by my window, city lights glowing below me, and opened my laptop. I began to type my next piece, When Dreams Are Stolen, Build New Ones. The words flowed easily, almost like they'd been waiting. I wrote about betrayal, not as an ending, but as a beginning. About how pain can either cage you or free you, and I chose freedom. When I finished, I leaned back, tears in my eyes but a smile on my lips. I wasn't writing to heal anymore. I was writing to inspire. He filled out her form instead of mine and thought I'd stay. But when I left, I didn't just walk away from him, I walked toward the woman I was always meant to become. And that, more than any revenge, was the victory he'd never understand.